Hello and welcome to our brand new podcast series, Decade of Excellence, Reimagining Human Health. Through this series, we'll be celebrating the 10th anniversary of our Bioengineering department here at the University of Texas at Dallas. My name is Shalini Prasad and I am the department head for the Bioengineering department.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Voices of Bioengineering. This is our graduation special podcast in our Decade of Excellence podcast series. And I'm really excited to introduce to you my two guests today. First is Ana Hernandez, who's a PhD student and now a PhD graduate, an immediate doctor in the area of neural engineering. And then there is Dr. Aldo Garcia, who's also at the cusp of graduation, Dr. Garcia soon, and he has worked in the area of polymers, biomaterials, towards, again, a number of biomedical applications. And along with me hosting this episode is Dr. Betsy Willis, who is our academic program officer. And we are really excited to have this chat where we reflect on your journey and look ahead to the future possibilities as you are now a bioengineering comet ready to become an alumni. So let me start off with you, Ana. So Ana, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad, for that great introduction. My name is Ana Hernandez. I was actually born in Mexico, and in Mexico was where I did my college studies as well as my master's. So I graduated from Biomedical Engineering from Tec de Monterrey in Mexico, and I did my master's in computer science from the same university. And then I came to UT Dallas for my PhD and also in biomedical engineering.
Thank you, Ana. Aldo, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you again for the great introduction. And I was actually also born in Mexico in a small town called Nueva Rosita. This is in the state of Coahuila in the north part of Mexico. And this is where I attended school for up to my bachelor's degree, which actually was in mechatronics engineering. Then after this, I moved to Dallas to pursue initially my master's degree in mechanical engineering, and then my PhD in biomedical engineering, which I just finished, as you mentioned. So I was able to defend my work a couple of weeks ago. On the more personal details of myself, I am married, and actually my wife is also doing her PhD here at UT Dallas in biomedical engineering. Also, we both have 2 kids. My daughter Allison, who is about to be 6 years old, and my son Lex, who is 3 years old.
Thank you both for those great introductions and for telling us a little bit about your journey. Now we want to explore what led you to UT Dallas. So will you each tell us how you chose UT Dallas for your graduate studies? Aldo?
I guess the story started back when I was still an undergrad in Mexico. I had the opportunity to come to UT Dallas through an undergrad summer research program where I was first exposed to scientific research. Here at UT Dallas, I was here at UT Dallas for about 3 months, and then I left back to Mexico to finish my bachelor's degree. But I knew I wanted to come back to UTD to pursue my graduate studies after this.
Thank you. And Ana, how about you?
I think it's similar to what Aldo was saying. For me, it also started in undergraduate. So when I was doing my undergrad, I had the opportunity to do an exchange program, but I actually went to Georgia Tech in Atlanta. And there I had the opportunity to take a class in neural engineering. And that's when I knew that I actually wanted to dedicate to that field of the biomedical engineering. So when I came back, I decided to start my master's in computer science because one of the things that I noticed while being there was that data processing and just recognition of patterns was very important for that field. So I went ahead and did that. And after I graduated, I knew that I wanted to continue in the field and that I wanted to do a doctorate degree. So for me, the way that I came to UT Dallas was actually because of the professors. So I was looking up professors all over the United States that were doing biomedical engineering with a focus on neural engineering. And I realized that there were 3 professors at the time doing that field. And so I talked to them, I sent my curriculum, and they decided that I was a good fit for them, and I decided that they were a good fit for me, and that's how I joined UT Dallas.
Wonderful. It is really nice to see the multidisciplinary experience and exposure both of you have had, which has resulted in you both pursuing your doctoral studies and now earning your PhD in biomedical engineering. Because truly to help humans, we need to understand many things. So, and as you've told us. So the next question, I'm going to ask it a little differently. So what I'd like you to do is to tell me a little bit about your PhD work. And what do you think is the influence or the impact that work is going to have to the broader field of biomedical engineering? And Aldo, let me start with you.
My dissertation work was based on the development of softening spinal cord stimulation leads, and these are devices that can be implanted in the epidural space of the spinal cord to treat different diseases such as chronic pain and also motor loss function. The special thing about my work is that these devices are made, as I mentioned, these are softening devices. So what this means is that they are based on a new type of polymer that is able to soften when it is exposed to physiological conditions, and this allowed us to develop thin film devices, so thin film spinal cord stimulation leads that can be implanted in any section of the spinal cord due to the thickness, which is very small. So the main idea is that these devices can be implanted even in the cervical section of the spinal cord, which has is been known to be a more difficult area here for this type of devices. And also, since these devices are softening, they can be easy to handle for surgeons, and also once they are implanted, they can conform around the spinal cord more easily. So all the devices that I've worked with are useful for research purposes, so for animal models. In the future, we hope that we can work towards the translation into human use.
That's really exciting, Aldo, and I hope so too, right? That if you can take the polymer material you've created and see the impact of it, that can be huge. Thank you for sharing that with us. Anna, do you want to tell us a little bit about your doctoral work and the impact on the field?
Yes, absolutely. And so, similar to what Aldo was doing during his doctorate, I also was focusing on the electrodes to implant into the nervous system. However, for me, it was not the spinal cord. For me, it was the peripheral nerves. So what we were trying to achieve was basically to have a very small electrode that we could place around the nerves and be able to control whatever target they are innervating. So in my project in particular, I actually was focusing on stress urinary incontinence of women. So talking a little bit about this condition is that, well, about 153 million of women suffer from this condition, and the treatments that are available are not very effective. So a lot of those women, maybe up to 50% of those women, end up just having to suffer through the condition and having incontinence for the rest of their lives. And it can start like as early as 40 years old. And so what we decided to investigate was, okay, so if we're able to implant an electrode and stimulate these nerves, can we control the function and be able to, relieve some of the symptoms that lead to these incontinence? And so that's what we did. But of course, we did not do that in humans. We actually tested that in rabbits. And so it was very interesting. And so we had fairly good results. And well, these results, suggest that this is a therapy, a new therapy that may be able to help a lot of these women.
Thank you both for sharing a bit about your work in the lab and your research and where you think it plays a role in the future of healthcare. So tell us a little bit about your college experience. Certainly being a doctoral student is very different from being an undergraduate student, but can you tell us a little about your experience? Perhaps it's in the research lab, maybe it's collaborations or work with UT Southwestern, or even in any student organizations or outside interests that you have. Anna, let's start with you.
For me, one of the biggest changes was that before coming here, I was doing a lot of research and a lot of work, but I was doing so more in the signal processing. So I wasn't really dealing with any kind of experiments, and certainly not any animal in vivo experiments. And so I think that was one of the biggest changes, because so I had to learn everything from the beginning about surgeries and how to do the surgeries. And to be honest with you, I actually became very good at doing the surgeries. I became very fast at doing the surgery. So yeah, that was very rewarding, just coming from zero experience in that area to actually becoming really proficient. And then the other thing that I also wasn't expecting as much was the level of collaboration between the labs. I was actually able to learn a lot of things, not only in my project, but in other fields that were also relevant to neural engineering, and that was also very satisfying. And so outside of the lab, I actually enjoyed doing a lot of activities. One of the things that I enjoy the most, and this is something that I grew up with, is swimming. And so I spent some of the times actually swimming, and I actually joined the swim club at UT Dallas. And again, I think that was one of the other novel experiences for me, is that I had never done so in a competition area. I had only done it for leisure. And so I actually started with the competitions, and even though I was not very good or not very fast at all, I actually improved a lot in both my techniques and also my speed. And on top of that, I also became volunteer of the Big Brother, Big Sister program. And actually, up to this day, I'm mentoring a 12-year-old girl. And, it's just hanging out with her a little bit and just talking about general life stuff, but also talking about science and going to museums, and just being able to mentor a young person is also very rewarding.
Yes, certainly. And I'm sure you're having a huge impact on that young lady's future and what she envisions as possible. So thank you so much for sharing what you've done, and thank you for all that you've given back to Dallas and the UTD community. Aldo, how about you? What are some of your outside of the classroom and stories from your time here at UT Dallas?
I'm going to start with my research experience and opportunities here at UT Dallas, which have been a lot. I think just by being here at UTD in our great labs and facilities, that allowed me to collaborate and to be in contact with different professors and with different labs, not only in biomedical engineering, but also, for example, in material science, in mechanical engineering, even in chemistry. So I think that is a huge advantage that I was able to notice over other people that don't have this type of opportunities, since this allowed me to think more out of the box, not only based on the research that our lab was producing, and also allowed me to collaborate with different professors here in the biomedical engineering department, such as with Dr. Kogan or Dr. Pancracio, who actually are part of my committee for my dissertation. And I really appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with these great researchers, because they have tons of experience, and their guidance is just key for me as a student, but I'm sure I'm not the exception here. So I really appreciate that. As I mentioned, I had a lot of collaborators here in UT Dallas, but also outside of UT Dallas. We had the opportunity to receive a grant from the NIH back in 2017, I believe, which was in collaboration with a neuroscientist group at the time at Cornell University. So we were working very closely to develop better devices for spinal cord stimulation. I think this collaboration was also key to my work, which allowed me to really develop and design my devices in a way that were very specific for the application that we wanted to do. On the student organizations area, I've been able to, so for example, being a member of the Biomedical Engineering Society, and also I was able to attend a couple of their meetings to present my work there. So that was a very good experience, because you learn a lot, not only from your field, but as you might already know, I mean, biomedical engineering is a very large and diverse field, and this opportunity just allowed me to learn a lot more than I was what I was expecting. And I was also able to be part of another organization which was external from UT Dallas, which is called Global Red MX, which is a non-profit organization of Mexican professionals who live around the world outside of Mexico. On my hobby or sports side, I love to play soccer, and also here at UT Dallas, I was not part of the team or any team in UT Dallas, but this also allowed us to not only collaborate, but also know much better the researchers here, the professors from the biomedical engineering department, since we were playing with, for example, as I mentioned, Dr. Kogan was playing soccer with us, and a bunch of other professors and postdocs who not only help us in the lab, but also that way we could see them more closely, like almost as friends, I would say, by sharing these experiences and by playing soccer. So I think that was very rewarding too.
I agree. Nothing like playing a game of soccer to build camaraderie and relationships. Good thing to figuring out teamwork in that manner. Thanks for sharing, both of you, your experiences. So now I'm going to ask you to think back about your time here at UT Dallas. And if each of you could share with me your fondest memory about, based on your time here. And Anna, can we start with you?
I think for me, more than a single memory, I think for me, it was an opportunity that I had, to meet a lot of wonderful people that, were my peers or other students in the department, and just forming very stretched relationships with them. And not only friendships, but like support from the other students. I mean, PhD is not an easy stage in our lives. PhD, I think, for most of us, it can become hard. But just being able to have a support group, just a group of friends that are also going through similar stuff, is one of the things that can help you go through some of the difficult times in these stages. And so I have now a lot of good friends from being in PhD. But not only that, this is actually where I met, some of my best friends, and one of them actually eventually became my husband, because we started working in the same lab and we became very close. And then we decided that, we were good for each other. And so afterwards, well, he was no longer, he graduated with his master's degree, and then we got married a couple years after. And I mean, obviously, without coming to UTD, I would not have met him, and I would not have met a lot of the other friends that I've became close with.
I'm really glad that the Department of Bioengineering could play matchmaker. Really happy, and congratulations, even though, I'm saying it again 2 years later on your wedding. So that's exciting.
Yeah, of course. And I think UT Dallas, just a community, is very close knit. Like we actually, I know people not only from my lab, but also from other labs that have nothing to do with the research that I was doing, but yeah, it just becomes a very close community.
Absolutely. Aldo, what are your favorite or fondest memories of your time here at UT Dallas?
I have to agree with Anna. It's just all the time that I have spent here at UTD, just the long hours, long days in the lab and in the classrooms. It has been a great experience for me, since it allowed me to really bond with not only my classmates but also my lab mates and other students here in the building in our labs. So I think that is what I'm going to remember the most from grad school. But if I had to pick one specific memory, I think it will be, up to now at least, the day that I finished. Well, not the day that I finished my master's, but when we celebrated it in the commencement ceremony. I think that was a perfect day for me, since all my family was able to be here with me to celebrate it, and that was a great time. I spent a great time with them, and it will be something that I would like to repeat. Hopefully it can be done here for my PhD. I actually don't know if that's going to be possible during the summer or even the fall, so that will be something that I will really remember throughout my life.
Thank you both so much for taking a look back down memory lane during your time at UT Dallas. Now let's look to the future. What are your post-graduation plans? Aldo, let's start with you.
Yeah, so I am looking currently to transition into the industry, where I can apply the skills that I have obtained during grad school. I was able to be involved in several projects involving all the way from design of medical devices, developing microfabrication processes to manufacture different types of bioelectronics, and this was mainly done in our clean room facilities. And I was also able to perform a lot of mechanical and electrochemical characterization of different types of bioelectronics devices. So I am really looking into using all my skills in the industry, where I think there are a lot of great opportunities. So I'm really looking towards that.
Thank you. Anna, what about you? What are your future plans?
I'm actually continuing in the academia field, and I think there's a little bit of a backstory here, on a personal level for me, because when I came to UT Dallas, I knew that I wanted to eventually become a professor and just continuing doing research. But as I mentioned before, PhD is not an easy stage. It's not easy. There are a lot of challenges that go throughout the entire process. And on top of that, well, sometimes life gets on the way. And so for a brief period of time, somewhere along my studies, I actually became a little bit discouraged in the research field. And then the pace that happens in a doctor level, well, I kind of went back and remember why I really joined a research program, and it was because I really was passionate about it. So eventually, I actually wanted to go back to that, and I decided that definitely academia was a path forward for me. And so currently, I'm actually joining UT Dallas again, but this time as a postdoctoral researcher for Dr. Kogan and Dr. Pancrazio.
That's really exciting. We're having both the industry as well as the academic experience. So I wanted to end by asking one last question. Both of you have come to UTD from outside of the United States. So we do have a number of international graduate students. I mean, we're truly what I hope the United Nations, right, for bioengineering here. But so as we think about that, what helped you most to transition to this UTD ecosystem? And what advice do you have for international students coming to the country the very first time? And Aldo, could we start with you?
Sure. So I remember when I first joined UTD, I was lucky enough to, with other people who spoke my language, so Spanish. This really allowed me to and helped me throughout the first period of my grad studies, since my English wasn't the best at the time, and probably not even today, but it was difficult to navigate through classes and through research. So that really helped me. Trying to be open-minded and join different events, for example, where you can interact with students that are around your area and your labs. I think that was also a huge advantage in the beginning for me.
Thank you, Aldo. Using the community is a great tip, and especially to practice language skills. I fully agree with that. Anna, your tips?
Yeah, so I think when I came to UT Dallas, for me, it was a little bit different because I had already done an exchange program at Georgia Tech, as I mentioned before. And so this was not my entirely first time being in the U.S., studying here in the U.S. So, but at the same time, I think some of the tips that I would have is like, first of all, when you come here, you gotta have in your mind that the culture is going to be different, and some things are not going to be the same as back in our home countries, and even the interactions, they don't happen the same way. So the first thing is to acknowledge that fact. And then, I mean, the university has a lot of resources, and just as Aldo was saying, and we were saying about the community at UT Dallas, well, there's a lot of other international students, and just being friends with other people that are also going through the same circumstances, changing cultures and all of that, that's also a big help. And one of the things that I enjoyed the most is all of the actually cultural activities that UTD provides. So one of my favorite, and of course this was before the pandemic, was the crawfish boil. So every year, and I don't remember exactly at what time of the year, but they make these huge crawfish festival that is very traditional from, I guess, Louisiana, and they actually offer it for all of the students, and you just show up and they give you crawfish, and you get to experience that part of the culture in the U.S. culture, and just little events like that. They also have one for like tacos, and they just have a lot of those opportunities, and I think that also brings together, and it's not only the culture inside the United States, but because there's so much diversity at the university, well, you get exposed to a lot of different cultures. And I guess for me, I mean, the food is one of my favorite things. So even within our group of friends, we would do, potlucks, or we would cook something traditional from our homes and then bring it for everyone else to try. And, there are things that you will not like. And there are other things that you maybe didn't think that you would, and you ended up loving them. And so just that, being open to new experiences, being open to new cultures, and just get ready to adapt also to a lot of these new things in life.
Thank you, Anna. It's true. Food is a great way to bond and to learn about different cultures. And I wanted to say thank you to both of you, Aldo and Anna, or Dr. Garcia and Dr. Hernandez, for this wonderful time that we had talking about your experiences here at UTD and and for your bright future ahead. So I really wish you the very best, both of you bioengineering comets and now fresh alumni. We're very excited to see how the future unfolds for the both of you. And Dr. Willis and I are very happy that you had this little conversation with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for organizing this.
Thank you so much for this opportunity and for organizing this together.